Hi everybody, Jeremy Patterson here with Fairway Mortgage, and have one of my favorite partners. I almost want to say of life, but that would sound a little weird. But favorite partners in real estate, Michael Sutton with Keller Williams, La Jolla, right?
That's right.
And we just want to talk about market, right? The idea is in this market space, it's one of the most difficult times to be buying a home, much easier to sell.
Definitely much easier to sell, but I think I don't know if it's going to change. I think it's still easy to sell, but I've noticed definitely things are slowing down.
Yeah, so we just want to keep adding value and continue to try to, give people great data and good information. So we got a couple things we want to talk about and just kind of cover. The first thing is let's kind of talk about the market. The thoughts for you being one of the top producers in California. What is your thoughts on the market? Where is it going? And kind of fill us in on real estate.
Sure. So thanks for having me, first of all.
Of course.
And we love to partner with you and Fairway, because not only do you guys offer great stuff, you really align with our belief that when people are getting good education and they're getting reliable information, they're going to be able to make better decisions.
Well, thank you.
And really what this is about is helping people make great decisions.
Yeah.
And helping change people's lives for the better, not for the worst.
Yeah.
So what the current market is looking like, and what I'm really feeling and experiencing, so not just the data, but anecdotally as well, right? I'm noticing less offers on my listings.
Okay.
Still going above the list price.
Okay.
I'm noticing, as I'm sure you're well aware, interest rates are up.
Yep.
Right? And in open houses, less buyers are coming through.
Okay.
That being said, we're still getting strong offers. We're still, because our inventory is still so low, we're still getting strong offers. We're still getting multiple offer situations. It's still competitive.
Yeah.
And there still is a good deal of high earning individuals out there buying property.
Okay.
There's still people selling properties for really high amounts, taking that equity out, and then putting that into a new property.
Okay, got it.
So while I'm noticing less offers and less people coming to show, we're still seeing, I would credit it due to low inventory.
Yeah.
And still historically good rates. I know
Yeah.
he doesn't like that one.
Yeah.
I'm just razzing him a bit.
Yeah.
But we are still noticing the market's still strong. It's still a good time to sell. And I think depending on your goals, I think it can be a great time to buy too, especially knowing that right now inflation's at about 8.5%.
Yeah.
And so your money in the bank is decreasing in value, right? Like a loaf of bread used to cost a nickel and a house used to cost $30,000. Well, bread's a lot more expensive, and so is real estate.
Yeah.
But what would you rather be able to do? Have bought a house in North Park for $30,000, or be able to still get bread for a nickel? I mean, I know you're a low carb guy, so you're going to choose the real estate, but you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, so to put that in real simple terms, right, from you seeing what's going on in the market, right, for most people watching this, the reality is less activity, right? Mm-hmm. But still great activity. That doesn't mean that prices are going down or you got a problem with pricing. It just means that people are going, hey, what do we want to do? What does it look like? And the offers that are coming in are really strong and still driving value.
So look, we had a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people coming from the San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York City, high income, a lot of tech cities, a lot of people working remote, fast forwarded from the COVID-19 shutdowns. And so we had a shifting kind of culturescape in our country. And with that came an increase in demand and an increase of, San Diego had about a 20%, increase in value of equity, right, and our property costs. So, even with that kind of jump in value, I think it's not a bad thing that things are slowing down, because things were so white hot for so long. It wasn't really a sustainable, healthy pace of growth. And so I actually think that we're still in a good place, no matter what side you're on, depending on your goals.
Yeah, and I think that, one of the things that I always talk about is like FOMO, right? The fear of missing out and what that means. And people that were in the market but didn't have an opportunity to buy the home, because they either didn't have a ton of money to go over asking price, right? They were putting less money down, or it just was a different situation, right? They couldn't buy a home a year ago anyways. I mean, you've worked with so many buyers that come into this market, and we were in a competitive nature where if you couldn't go 50, 100 grand over, like you just weren't getting homes.
Yeah, and that was the thing too, is we noticed during, I would say it started in 2020, and it's still kind of lingering, the effects are lingering now, is it was really hard for VA buyers.
Yeah.
A huge part of my business is military past and present.
Yep.
And so a lot of people who were having a hard time getting VA offers accepted.
Yeah.
A lot of hard times getting, 5% down, 10% down. And it got to a point where in some markets like Carlsbad, we were having trouble with 20% buyers because we're getting people who are all cash or like 50, 60, 70% down.
Yeah.
So definitely noticing a change, but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it is too. And I think that people that couldn't get into a home, right, last year or the year before, right, even though prices are up or rates are up, right, you still have a situation where it's a fantastic time.
Totally. And the other thing too, Jeremy, is to your point, and I know that you are someone, and one of the reasons we love partnering with you is because you think outside the box and you're creative. It just actually got to a point in our market where I think people like you and people like me, we had to come up with creative ways. So we just closed out a VA buyer, right? But we just had to find creative ways to get them in, right? And so no matter what you've got going on, we can make it happen. Just we might, you might not get that one house that's on the market that you want where you're competing with a cash buyer. But as long as we can get a plan, we could still work it out. But I think it's going to be easier for people who have, more average, incomes, or maybe want to utilize their VA benefit to get in now, which I think is a great thing.
Now, one of the things you mentioned was inventory, right? So inventory is one of those things that I talk to a lot of people about, and people ask me questions about what is inventory doing, where is it going? And the thought is, as this begins to happen, right, do you think we're kind of in this new normal range of we're always going to have less inventory than we had before, right? Or do you believe that inventory is going to continue to build and grow until it gets back to more 4,000 or 5,000, listings?
So, if I'm understanding the question correctly, is you're asking, is inventory? We're having a problem with short inventory, or shortage of inventory, or a lack of homes available for sale on the market, versus the buyer demand.
Correct.
And so, will that improve, and will more people put their homes on the market, and balance that out?
Yeah. Do you believe that's going to happen?
I'm not sure, and I think one of the things that we need to put into perspective, and this is just out of thought, this isn't actually data driven, and then some of it is data driven.
Sure.
So just my thought and experience traveling to different countries and stuff is the United States is a relatively young nation, right? We had people just flocking to California for many years. In San Diego, we've got, the ocean, Mexico, the mountains. Right?
Yeah.
You are stuck in this little area, this geographic area, and we don't have more land. We can't manufacture it. We can't do anything. We can renovate new, like old houses. But there's not a lot of vacant lots. There's not just place. I mean, you can go to the county.
Right.
But in the city of San Diego, we just don't have space. We also have an increase in population from the previous generations and now millennials, so we actually have more people that want to buy homes that are in that average home buyer age of 100%. Approximately 33, 34, right?
Yeah.
So we have, not to mention, it's so hard to do new construction because the permitting process, all the bureaucratic red tape, the cost, and then with inflation, it's exacerbated. So I don't really see. What I really see, and also the wealthier getting wealthier, what I really see, and I think this is kind of like, even in a city, right, that's like kind of a microcosm of something like New York that's been established. A lot of people will rent apartments forever, and then you have wealthy people that own a bunch of real estate. And I think that what we're going to see in our country is a shift of less people. So I haven't seen this, but if I had to gamble, I would bet that there's a metric that shows that more people than previous generations own more than one piece of real estate. But on the flip side, on the other extreme, there's less people that will or there's more people that will never own.
Yeah.
So like that middle section, while we probably had more like just own a primary residence population, and then few people own more than one, and fewer people go. I think that the extremes are getting bigger, where the middle's shrinking down.
Yeah, and I think it's starting to show that, right? With
Yeah.
second home purchases, with investment property purchases, with COVID, people have been able to move around quite a bit, right? So now you can take your income and buy a second home and spend part of your time there. And you can buy rental properties, and people made so much money in different avenues like the stock market and Bitcoin and all this different stuff.
Well, also you have like
around.
Bigger Pockets podcast, and it's like Shark Tank and Gary Vee, and it's cool to be an entrepreneur. It's cool to be an investor in certain circles, where I don't think, back in my day, it was like you had Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the book, right?
Yeah.
And Dave Ramsey and some stuff. So it's like I think now the information about investing and guys like I know like Thatch Wynn, who has a crazy big presence, and he's just breaking it down, and he's giving people information of like how to invest in real estate, how to make money to invest in real estate, and it's like no BS, like free advice, and if you want to do coaching, you can, and it's really affordable. And so it's like you have people who are giving you access to the information, which wasn't as readily
100%.
available or accessible. So I think that a lot of young people or people who are just tired of their situation, like, and being intentional about it, are really utilizing real estate as an investment. And people who are sleeping and keep putting it off, and that's why, when you said like, is it a good time to buy?
Yeah.
I always say it depends on your situation, but if you can afford the monthly, if you've got the time where you're not going to be forced to sell, like you don't want to, you're not planning on having a big family, and you don't want to get like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom condo and flip that in 2 years to a house, right? But you maybe you get a house you can grow into, or you can fit in, you can afford the monthly. Like I think it's a great time, right? Like the best time to buy was yesterday, or 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? And stop throwing away money on rent, start building equity, right? Start just getting into it, getting into the market, right? Like Gary Keller says, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And he also says it's never the fault of the real estate. It's did you sell it at the wrong time, right? Yeah. Because if you buy the real estate should, right? And of course, investing, there's like risk, and there's certain things, and I'm sure someone bought a lot of land that couldn't get water, and they got snake oil salesman or something. But typically, like a single family residence in the city of San Diego or most of the county, with few exceptions, typically are going to appreciate in value within any 7-year period.
Right, and when you start looking at real estate long run, right, the only time that you lose money in real estate, or any asset for that fact, is when you sell it, right? If you have to sell it because there's no choice. And a lot of people think back to 2007, 8, 9, right? People that are buying homes today,
you had to sell because,
you got a loan product or something happened to cause the focus on having to sell. And a lot of people don't recognize that when you look at recession, or you look at what's gone on in the past, home prices didn't go backwards, they actually grew.
Well, yeah, right? that's the thing too, and I know we have clients that we've helped buy second properties and stuff, and that have shared with me about when they bought their first property in 2009, right? And they told me what they bought it for, which is today seems insane,
right?
Insanely low, not high. Right. I mean, low, like you can't get a condo for that now. Yeah, getting like a 4-bedroom house, 3 or 4-bedroom house in a good neighborhood, good schools with a pool and a view. And then, did a little work, fixed it up, watched the price go down for 3 years, and said like they felt bad about it, but they were happy living there. I asked them, did you need to sell, or were you just like watching the value go down? Like, well, I was watching the value go down. I was living there. I was happily living there, right? But now that house is probably tripled in value. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I have a really good friend that same thing. I mean, I was in lending at the time, right? Had to deal with that whole situation. And had a close friend of me call me and say, hey, Jeremy, look, values are going down. Should I sell this? What should I do? And my response to him was, hey, you're in a 30-year fixed mortgage. You're not going to have any type of adjustability. And yeah, value's going down. But do you have to sell it? And then his job was fine, everything was fine, all good. So I said, don't do anything with it. I said, call your dad. So what did he do? He called his dad. His dad went, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter, let it be. And now today it's his best rental property that he has so much equity because it was a condo in Orange County that he's like, man, I'm so glad I didn't sell it. And he held on to it. So,
and that's the thing with real estate is I think if you can hold on to it and if you can afford to hold on to it, you should hold on to it.
Sure.
Right? Like as long as you can and it works for whatever your plan is for you, your family, right? Because it can be leveraged, it can become a rental, it can, you can pay it off and live for, whatever the cost of your property tax and maintenance. And I run into so many people like that today who are older and they have, these properties where they're just paying, their property tax, and we've got, Prop 13 and all this stuff. So they're paying almost nothing to live in San Diego. And so once you take out, I think for most people, the housing expense, things can be expensive, but once you don't have a housing expense, it's really manageable to live. And especially in California where that's like your highest expense typically, right? Like if you remove that or if you keep that fixed, like if you buy on a 30-year fix and you get a good interest rate and you get a house you can afford, rents are going to go up. That's going to stay the same. And so, I mean, I just bought a house, I use you as a lender. Thank you. You did a great job. And so like to all, if any of my clients are watching who I recommend Jeremy to, I put my money where my mouth is. He does a great job. He took me through. I asked him to treat me just like anybody else, go through the presentation and learn. And it really was a no-brainer when I looked at the numbers, when I looked at the history. And so like, as you know, like I closed on my house in early December. Right. And so I'm in real estate and knowing what I know and doing this at a high level and still doing it, I think just speaks to how much I believe in it. And it's a long-term thing. If I wanted to make a quick flip, I'd go to the casino and play, blackjack or just day trade crypto or something, but that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the long-term gain. I'm looking for to build wealth in a rental portfolio and be able to potentially leverage that real estate through a 1031 exchange or however else, whatever might work at the time.
So when you think about, we always field the question all the time, are we in a bubble? Are prices going up and down? What can we predict? And none of us can predict the future, right? But, my thought on this, and I'll take the lead because I deal with this all the time, is you just have to look at the past to help you understand what the future looks like. And regardless of whether it goes down or up today, if you hold property long enough, right, it doesn't matter what it does because the bottom line is you're not paying rent. You're not throwing money away. You're getting some appreciation as you go through this. And if you have to sell it in 10 years, it's a win. Even if I bought, I ask this question all the time when I meet with clients, was buying a home in 2007 a mistake?
No.
Right? Not if I'm selling today, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But if I had to sell it in 2008 or 9, it was a mistake.
Well, that's why I always say it depends, right? Because it does always depend, right? And so it's like, there's no canned answer, right? But that's also why, like, I know that I value it and you do, and we make such a stink about it with people. Like, hey, you got to sit through the presentation. You need to understand this so you can know if this is right for you, right? It's not just like the one size fits all, like this is great for everyone, right? It really depends on your goals, your timeline, and what you want and foresee for your vision for your family and you.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because what I want to close with is just to kind of talk about why it's so important to work with a pro. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is what we really do to serve families and what we do to help them understand how this whole process works. So for you, when you think about a pro, why would a family, because what people don't understand, and if you haven't bought a home before, you don't really pick up on the reality that if you have an agent representing you as a buyer and I'm the client, I don't pay that agent, right? But an agent can cost me a ton of money, not only in mistakes, but negotiation and the wrong home, right? So, I want to cover why that's so important.
Sure, I think that's a great thing to cover. I'm glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
So it reminds me of there's this story, I don't know if it's true or not, about Pablo Picasso or Salvador Dali, some famous, I think it was Picasso, and he's in a bar. Have you heard this? Or a cafe, and this lady comes up and she says, hey, will you do a doodle on this napkin for me? And he does a little doodle on the napkin and he says, okay, that's gonna be like 40 grand or 20 grand or whatever. And she goes, it took you 5 seconds, you just drew this little doodle. And he's like, no, my dear, it took me 40 years to be able to do that in 5 seconds and be Pablo Picasso or whatever, right? And so I know for me, I've spent years, thousands of dollars, I mean, so many hours on training, coaching, reading books, sitting down with people like yourself and really understanding the loan side and understanding economics, sitting at home inspections, networking with agents when like I want to be at home with my family, my girlfriend, my dog, or doing what I want to do,
Sure.
right? But I'm at a networking event. So when one of my clients wants to make an offer on a property, I've bumped elbows with or had drinks or spent time with an agent so I can call them and say, you know, because the agent is a gatekeeper of the transaction,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
say, hey, what's up? Like, good to talk to you. And we have some kind of rapport and familiarity because it's like, who do you want, right? You have to put yourself in the perspective of the agent, right? The agent is hired to give, to protect. Like if you hired me to sell your house,
Yep.
you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, right? And where this really became clear to me is one of my clients told me, I said, hey, this is the price I know we can get. This price I think is probable. And this price is like, you know, the market's like going up. And this is like in, you know, it was a couple years ago. So it was before everything like really spiked. And I said, this is kind of like where it could go if things are getting as hot as I think they are, but I don't want to like guarantee it. And he told me, he's like, this is like, okay, I'll be fine. This I'd be happy with. But if we get this one, I'm going to send my kids to private school and I'm going to buy a new car and I'm going to buy whatever house that I want in the neighborhood I want. And that's when it really became clear to me that these decisions have real life, serious implications because where do your kids going to meet their best friends? At school. So where do you send them to school? Where do you live in the neighborhood? How many, like, do you have a neighbor or someone in the neighborhood
Sure.
you grew up with? Like, these are serious things that are going to impact your life.
Yeah, it's life-changing.
It's life-changing. It can be potentially life-changing. So getting the house, not getting the house, or understanding, or like I tell people, like I won't show a house until we've had 3 meetings. One with me, right?
Yep.
One with you,
Yep.
or you know the mortgage professional, and then another one with my team and me, right? So we're really clear. You get the education, you get the information, you get the perspective, the knowledge. So if you walk into the first house, because sometimes the first house is the best house.
Sure.
And usually it's not the first house because they've been looking on Zillow for months.
Yeah.
And so I want them to be able to say, I know this is the first house we've been in physically, but I know that this one's special. Or on the flip side, I have people walk in the first house, they're like, we want this one. And I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
take a deep breath because I really think while this is good, I think you can do better being, you know, with your qualifications. And so having an agent who has perspective, having an agent who's willing to take the time, who's not going to just like having a lender, like you go through the presentation, you don't just say, here you go, here's a pre-approval, right? Having someone who's got your best interest in mind, having someone who really cares, having someone who's taken the time to network with other agents, who spends time with other agents. So when you're writing on a multiple offer situation, there's a good chance that either I know the agent or I know an agent that does, and I'm going to pick up a phone and call in a favor. And I've got offers accepted that way, where I call and I say, hey, buddy, I know you're friends with this agent. Would you call and give me the bump? And believe it or not, that is a huge way of how we get stuff done in this business. This is still a people business, right? It's not, you can't just do it all like with an algorithm, right? Like people, the agent, the gatekeeper of the transaction is protecting your hundreds of thousands of dollars, who's going to sell your house for top dollar so your kids can go to the school they want, you can get a new car, you can get your house.
In the area.
Right? And they've got that on the line, not only to mention we only get paid by closing commissions, so their paycheck, their referrals they're going to get from clients to the future of their business, their literal livelihood is on the line. So they want to make sure that the buyer is realistic. They're not going to come in and make their lives hell for the next 30-day escrow period or back out of the deal and potentially cost them more money by chasing the market down. Because, Jeremy, what do 10 out of 10 people say when something falls out of escrow?
I don't know. What do they typically say?
What's wrong with it?
Oh,
the next
right.
buyers.
Yeah, you mean the
every
next
single
transaction.
time. When a property falls out of escrow, the next buyer comes in and says, well, what's wrong with it?
With the property.
Even if it was a bad buyer that got cold feet, right? And then you have to overcome that, right? You have to waste time. Maybe you're right?
Yeah.
And there's so many things. So it's like what we want to do as a buyer's agent is we want to give the listing agent, the gatekeeper of the transaction, we want to give them peace of mind that you're dealing with a professional, that we've got a good rapport with our clients, they trust us,
Sure.
they're going to take our advice, they trust us enough that when we recommend a great lender who's going to underwrite the file completely ahead of time, so we know it's a good file and there's no surprises. So you're not getting surprises. You're working with people who are going to hit these timelines, and we're shortening timelines because we need to be aggressive to get offers accepted in a competitive market. So we're presenting a package and building this case to give to someone where they look at it and everything, we know what, because we're doing this at a high level, we know what high level agents want.
Right.
So when they see a clean package and it's delivered and it's got everything that they want and they don't have to do a thing, maybe counter little points, and they already know that we know, they have peace of mind knowing that if they go to their client and say, here, accept this one, this is the one you want, that's money in the bank. And their next 30-day escrow, 21-day, 17-day, whatever that period's gonna be, isn't gonna be hellish, because this is a stressful business. There's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of money on the line, right? And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible, and that comes with preparation, education, getting informed, and that's why having professionals that are not only experienced, but actually take the time, actually give enough to sit down with you, right?
Yeah.
And not let you get in your own way and make mistakes, because it's like, hey, we've been there. We've worked with bad lenders. We've had to deal with bad deals or unreasonable. We've done all of that for you, so you don't have to do it. Just all you have to do is come in, like, trust us, take our advice, and you'll be good, right?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about working with you is the fact that you just don't take orders, right? I kind of look at clients going in and ordering a cheeseburger and going, hey, I want this cheeseburger and I want it to be this way, right? Imagine if you made that order and somebody said, well, I don't think that's the best way to have it. What about this, this, or this? And I think that when somebody's buying a home, one thing you said that I picked up on right away is you have no fear to say, hey, I don't think this is the right home for you. And when you're negotiating through this, we don't take orders. We essentially, our job is to essentially challenge everybody to understand the best possible way to do whatever they're trying to do in whatever situation. Same with buying a home, right? I mean, the thought behind that is we found this home, we got an offer to get it accepted. I just don't know if it's the right one.
I think what it is like this, is I help people facilitate a process, right?
Yeah.
And that's buying a home, selling a home, investing in real estate.
Sure.
And so I want to get a clear understanding of what people's goals are, and I want them to be happy with the choices that they've made.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer them perspective, I'm going to give them insights, and I'm going to allow them to make a decision. And so I'm never going to tell anyone like, oh, don't buy this home's not for you.
Right.
But if there's something like it's on a busy street, or there's power lines, or there's something that we know is like, hey, I want you to understand that you're going to get a better deal on the front end, but when you sell, you're also going to take a cut.
Yeah.
We're in a really hot market right now. We might not be in a hot market there, so you might take a harder cut than you're getting right now.
Sure, it's great advice, essentially.
Exactly. And so if they say, you know what, that doesn't bother us, and we're going to be here for 20 years, and we expect this to be so much more valuable, it's fine, then fine. I'm not going to tell them don't do it, but I'm going to shoot people straight. I'm going to tell them my experience, and doing this once again at a high level with many people over a good amount of years, and having a lot of perspective, and allow them to make informed decisions. It's like I tell my clients a lot. It's like, look, if you've never done this before, you're a first-time buyer. Like, I'm gonna take you, I'm gonna pull you back. You got a bow and arrow. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna lift off. And if you let go, you're gonna hit the bullseye. And I'm gonna get you, blaze that trail and get you that path to get your offer accepted or hit that number, right? If you decide, well, I'm not willing, or I'm not able to do that, no problem, right?
Yeah.
I wanna get you the path. If you tell me you wanna sell your home for X amount, I'm gonna tell you what it's gonna take. And if you say, I don't wanna paint, I don't wanna stage, I don't wanna do this, I'm gonna let you know, well, you're probably not gonna get this price for your house, but we can get this, and this is how much all that would cost, or this is what it would be, and you know what I mean? And let them make a decision.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Michael, I appreciate you coming in today and kind of talking through some of these subjects. I think that as we talk to consumers and we continue to serve people, more and more of these questions come up, and I appreciate you taking the time. You're one of the best, right?
Thanks, Jeremy.
I have the opportunity to work with a lot of people, and you definitely are one of the ones that I see get offers accepted over most, all the time, constantly working hard to make it happen. So if you're looking for a great agent, give Michael a call. We're going to put all of his contact information at the end of this video. I think it's really important. Also, we'd love to see some comments. So at the bottom of this, go ahead and make some comments and let us know what you think. Our subscription base is going up as well, which is great.
I love that.
Yeah, so we can keep giving people great information. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to giving you more content in the future. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.